Let's talk about engineering contracts. You know, in all that legal jargon, real danger can hide in plain sight. Today, we're going to zero in on a single sentence, a clause that looks like a shield but can actually shatter, leaving you totally exposed to some massive professional risk.
So, let's just get right to it. Could one sentence, literally one sentence, in a contract put your entire career on the line? It sounds like a crazy exaggeration, right? But picture this. A bridge you designed shows a structural fault a year after it's built. Now, the contractor, they followed your plans to the letter, but the plans themselves, they were flawed. The client sues for millions. You think you're safe because of a clause in the contract, but then you find out it's unenforceable, and all that liability lands right in your lap. As we're about to see, not understanding this one little clause can have absolutely devastating consequences.
Okay, so our entire investigation today really centers on one single piece of evidence. It's this very specific clause, and you can find it buried in countless engineering service agreements. Take a good look at the wording here. The contract is asking the contractor to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the engineer from claims about defective construction. Now, on the surface, that sounds perfect, doesn't it? It sounds like a great safety net for you, the engineer, a contractual shield. But is that what it really is? To really understand the trap here, we first have to define the most important term, indemnify. You know, putting it simply, it just means one party agrees to pay for the losses of another party. It's basically a promise to cover their damages or their legal fees. It's supposed to act like a financial shield. And this is where things get tricky because that indemnity clause runs right into a bedrock concept, professional liability. And this isn't just some legal phrase. It's the absolute core of what it means to be an engineer. It is your fundamental, non-negotiable duty to make sure your work is solid and protects public safety. The buck stops with you. And that brings us to the main event, the central conflict. When you put this indemnity clause right up against the principle of professional liability, what gives? How do courts and professional associations actually interpret this attempt to, pass the buck? Well, the source material gives us 4 possible ways to look at this. We're going to treat them like suspects in a police lineup. 3 of them are red herrings. They're there to mislead you, but one of them is the truth. So here are our 4 suspects. Is the clause A, universally binding, no exceptions whatsoever? B, just a standard acceptable practice? C, potentially invalid because of what it's trying to do? Or maybe D, just a simple legal thing with no ethical strings attached? Let's start the interrogation. All right, it is time to put these suspects under the microscope. We're going to use a good old-fashioned process of elimination to figure out what's fact and what's fiction. First up, we've got suspect A, the idea that this clause is universally binding. You know what? This one's an easy one to dismiss. In the legal world, the word universal is a huge red flag. Contract enforceability always depends on local laws and the specific details of the case. So, yeah, suspect A is out. Okay, so what about suspect B, that it's routinely acceptable? Well, this is just as false. What's considered standard practice in one province can be completely thrown out of court in another. A clause that's this broad is anything but routine, and assuming it is, well, that's a really dangerous gamble. Suspect B is eliminated. Now for suspect D. This is the claim that this is all just legal paperwork, that there are no ethical implications. Honestly, this might be the most dangerous misunderstanding of them all. An engineer's #1 ethical duty is to public safety and the integrity of their own work. Trying to sign away responsibility for your own potential mistakes, that's not just a legal tactic, it's an ethical failure. D is definitively not the answer. So by knocking out all the false options, we've basically unmasked the truth. We know what this indemnity clause really represents. And the correct interpretation, the one that actually aligns with both legal precedent and professional standards, is option C. So why is C the only right answer? It all comes down to one core principle. You cannot outsource your professional liability. You just can't. Courts are really skeptical of any clause that looks like a professional trying to dodge responsibility for their own mistakes. A judge is very likely to either invalidate the clause completely or severely limit its power. The bottom line is unshakable. The ultimate responsibility for the engineering work stays with the engineer. Okay, so we've solved the mystery, but the most important question is still out there. What does this actually mean for you, and how can you protect yourself? Look, if you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this.
You cannot contract away your fundamental professional responsibility. That duty is yours and yours alone. So, how do you apply this knowledge? Just follow 3 simple steps. First, scrutinize. Read every single line of your contracts, especially those hold harmless clauses. Second, understand. Really get it in your head that these clauses are not a get-out-of-jail-free card for your own professional negligence. And third, consult. When you're in doubt, always seek expert legal advice. So we'll leave you with a final question. After everything we've just uncovered today, have you checked the indemnity clause in your contracts? Do you really know what it means? Because having the right answer could make all the difference in your career.